Hello, viewers. Welcome. Today, it is my pleasure to sit with my friend and my colleague, Dr. Ravi uh, Kamepalli, and I am going to address him mostly as Ravi because I think it is we are friends. We know each other through COVID MD, and I think it's more informal of a discussion. So, Ravi, welcome, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your last name, but I feel more comfortable talking to you informally as Ravi. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, Tyre. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of your heroes. I don't know if I'm a hero, but I will. I'm a common man,
Well,
and
I think that you are a hero by all means. I think that I'm blessed to have friends like you who contribute every day to the healthcare industry, to the society. And looking at you, you're being very modest. You wear many hats, many talents. You're a man of several talents, and that's why I want to bring your knowledge and your wisdom to the greater community around me and share your thoughts. So your life journey is interesting, and I have the pleasure to look through it, but I want to hear from you. So please tell us, where did you grow up and where did you go for medical school?
grew up in Andhra Pradesh, southern India.
Okay.
Basically, uh, it is now divided into two states. I grew up in one part, and also I went and studied in medicine in the other part. And basically, I went to a medical college called Guntur Medical College, and a lot of doctors from all these Indian doctors, almost a lot of them are from Guntur Medical College. If anybody from southern India, you just ask them if they are from Guntur. There's a bunch of them here, and basically, I graduated in '95, and in '97 I came to US.
Were you always thinking of coming to United States? What triggered that
Uh,
journey?
no, basically, my medical journey started after my mother wanted to go into medicine, and I had a choice of not doing it, or she did not force me, but got into medicine, and then basically wanted to do something in healthcare because one of my patients lost his limb because of what I helped him. I thought I helped him, but he ended up losing the foot. But then he ended up having an AKA and died 3 years after that. So
Wow.
it just so happened that thinking about what to do with it and try to understand the healthcare and complexity and the costs that are needed in delivery of healthcare. So I just decided to see maybe I can get out of there and come here to learn a little bit and go back. And it really never happened. I tried my best in between to try to go and become an emergency medicine physician.
Hmm.
That's when I joined that, went to New York Fire Department and went there, and they asked me to go and get some emergency experience. So joined another program for 1 year trying to do that. But it ended up that I got into infectious disease after my program director wanted me to help him. And from there, I got into wound care, ended up in Lima, Ohio, where I stayed for almost 15 years. So, so
Wow, quite an amazing story. I think that there are many moments of compassion as well as um, lessons that you might have learned through this path. Anything that you can remember from your initial career in United States as an internist and then infectious disease physician that changed you?
I did internal medicine. I think our program that I joined in Wyckoff Heights Medical College, it was going through transition at that point. I mean, and then I got lucky, really blessed to be joining that program. But they ran it. They took us as a house surgeons, house officers, and then ended up transitioning us into the first year. So the hours that we did was long. I mean, like, but then it was that first year that I think I learned that medicine is not going to be easy.
Yeah.
it's going to be a long time. And that ethic, I think, has stuck with me. I just don't go and just don't go out of work till I get the day's work done. And that's how it was. I mean, now we have all these rules where, you go home at so much time, but we did not have those rules then. And I think it helped me, I mean, to be a better person, better doctor, you know.
Yeah, and be more resilient.
Oh yeah, it's
Um,
resilience because you had to do that work, and then we formed a good team. I had a team of 3 or 4 doctors who we rotated, we planned, and we did every central line exchange had to be done every 7 days at that time. And amazingly, within 6 months, I had my numbers done. So that was an amazing thing, Now, but then nowadays you don't change the center lines in every 7 days, so it was not the same rule then.
Yeah, I remember one of the programs. I think both of us were trained at New York City, as many other foreign medical graduates. They end up in New York City for getting their trainings, and now we are looking at a pandemic hitting the New York City worse, and my heart goes out to all the the physicians who are there. But
Yeah.
I remember that our program director actually got warning from the ACGME of not following the 80-hour rule. And when I left a few years later, the program got closed because I think they just had to do that. There was no way they could enforce that because the workload is so much in New York City and other areas. So you were in Wyckoff, which is in Brooklyn or Bronx?
Brooklyn, it's north
Brooklyn.
of Brooklyn. It's like 2 blocks or 4 blocks from Queens. And I think
Hmm.
it was one of the hub hospitals for this pandemic. And in fact, there were pictures in the newspapers of it.
Yeah. Um, uh, you you mentioned briefly about getting into infectious disease because you were helping your program
Yeah.
director. So tell us a
Uh,
little bit about that.
so basically, I did my internal medicine and I really did not know anything about infectious disease.
Yeah.
I mean, that's funny to say that now, but I mean, like, I just, I just did not know anything.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's
We didn't take it
crazy.
seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, like you just see that makes me go back and think, as a medical doctor, when you're trained, you're doing everything and you don't do focus stuff.
Yeah.
So, but then once you got into infectious disease, then the detective side in me got in, and then I really enjoyed it. But what I enjoy more is understanding the root cause of a disease, and that's where I got into understanding wound care, which, I mean, like, normally it's a drug bug solution. A person comes with osteomyelitis of the foot, and I know what antibiotics to give because I have the bug. But then I was seeing a lot of the patients come back in and again. Every 6 months I heal a wound, they used to come back. And then I just decided, looked at it, understood it, and then we started doing. I started collecting pictures of the wounds, and
Hmm.
you see, then I ended up collecting a lot of pictures. Ended up doing a online CME with using those pictures, which is available online on webcme.net, and it's a nationwide CME of 60 cases that that is available now, even now. I mean, like, and it is complex case delivery model that involves extensive care, that is where patient comes from the community, goes to a hospital, then goes to an LTAC, then goes to a nursing home, then gets discharged. So I've taken that model and was able to really deliver a comprehensive spectrum of delivery of service, like not just as an infectious disease doctor, but say as an extensivist, where
Yeah.
you know the family, the children, and you do amazing stuff. You just close a wound, you just take care of the nutrition side, and you get to talk to the family and understand what's going on with them. I mean, there is some, even on my YouTube channel, you'll be able to see some case series and patient perspectives on how they went through. I mean, that will be fun to even watch them.
You know, Ravi, you are an enterprising personality as a physician. I've looked into some of the things that you are doing, and I have to tell you that you're one of the only physicians I've come across in the field of infectious disease who's looking at this more of an integrative approach, an approach that is not taken by many, because you are in this field where you can actually cure people by just giving them the bugs treatments specific to the specificity of their microorganism based on the culture and call it a day. But you're going deeper and deeper and deeper, and now we are realizing that in the midst of what the bigger crisis of COVID-19 is coming down to an infection and the host being compromised, although looks good from outside. And
Right.
when I read the information that you were providing us on our COVID MD portal. And I was like, this guy is thinking deeper into the root cause, and I need to, talk to him. So that makes you very unique. Is that
Yeah.
you to always be you were like that, or it just came on you as you understood that people are not told the real truth about their problems, or education is not good enough for them?
No, I mean, like, I don't know if I was like that or not, but I think the training that you go and the troubles that you go through, and sometimes, you know, we end up running through life, not thinking much, and
Yeah,
then medicine has evolved in a process of, think about this. There were three phases of medicine in my mind. Okay, healthcare delivery. The first phase is a phase of, like, say, um, um, like um, like disaster,
yeah,
where where you got like a, um, so where you have like meteorites and all those coming through. And
yeah,
the second phase, you had this epidemics and all.
yeah,
Okay, and the third phase is this phase of decay. And the second phase uh, is the last phase where we had that um, uh, pandemic of influenza. And
yeah,
if you see the health system and healthcare delivery services that have evolved right now, have evolved out of that influenza pandemic. So the hospital systems, the delivery of nursing homes and services developed after that. But something happened in 2009, wherein in 2009, WHO declared that healthcare has now, the non-communicable diseases have become very, very important. Like, they have gone, the deaths from non-communicable diseases. There was a WHO article in 2009 that kind of opened up my mind on this whole process. Said,
mm,
okay, now am I going out of business? Is disease going away? Is infectious disease going away? I said, no way. I mean, like, but then what is coming back? It's okay. Now, it is what they kind of were telling is, you have a non-communicable disease, and once you have a bug on the top of a non-communicable disease, you were having trouble. So that made me sit back and think as to what I am doing. But a few things happened in my life. I was trying to do the back home India thing in 2008 and 9, where I tried to start a wound center in India, and I miserably failed at it. And then once I failed at it, and I started an organization in India with a friend, called Indian Podiatry Association, because wound care knowledge in India is kind of uh, there, but they do it in a totally different manner. And learning what I learned, I said, I still have to give back. So I started this organization called Indian Podiatry Association, and we have been since 2008 and 9 have been like 4 times a year. We get across 50 doctors, and they come to Delhi, and we used to train them. Me lecturing from here, or whenever I was in India twice a year, I just made it a point to go across the country. And my trips to India were more of a business, not much vacation kind of a thing.
yeah,
And then you run around the country, meet people, and talk to them about wound care. And then And then in 2000, I was looking at different solutions trying to deliver this change in India. And I was thinking about telemedicine, and I got into social media. And that's where I met the CEO of FruitStreet.com, Lawrence, and then ended up becoming a startup investor in Fruit Street Health. And then that changed me completely and got into obesity medicine because of Fruit Street Health and trying to understand obesity medicine, and understood that I was getting obese myself, and then try to figure out why. And then I was preparing and reading up on my obesity boards, and understood that genetic expression and disease processes have an underlying root cause, and they don't happen out of the blue. And it's like the bug of the day, you know. The bug of the day, say in the past, was Spanish flu in 1918, or SARS in 2003, or H1N1 another time in 2009. So idea is, we have been here, and the bugs have been here longer, so they have an advantage of time over human beings. In fact, we are bugs. We have a lot of viruses, we have a lot of bacteria, and it's our genes and interacting with more bacterial and viral genes that make us who we become. So at the end of the day, if we don't realize that, and then it's so hard even for doctors to understand that. Now, how can we blame the end user? So that's where I started. Okay, then got certified in, got diplomate in obesity medicine, and then ended up trying to push the agenda of what I love to do. You know, nutrition, wound care, telemedicine, and all these things that I love dearly. And the question just comes down to, as I'm doing this, what am I achieving in life and where am I going? I don't know. We'll see where we go.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you that, as I said initially, you are a man of many talents, and sometimes people are wondering, what are you trying to achieve? And I think your only goal is to serve humanity in the best way possible, because I can see you outreach back to India and giving them back the society needs, from an experienced physician. You're reaching out to overall health of people, because obesity epidemic is a reason for us seeing so many problems. You're working using technology and digital health as a means to reach people, and you're also trying to tackle chronic diseases. And I think that now my next question for you is that, going forward 5 years from now, what do you see putting together a program, through different aspects of your talents? And I see there is something behind you that is getting my attention, and I want you to kind of focus on that and walk us through the pathway roadmap that you have created that can help us get there.
Yeah. And before I go to that, I just want to state one thing, because sometimes, see, you don't understand the other person completely sometimes.
Yeah,
And people start judging you.
sure.
And I don't really, to tell you the truth, I don't really care what they think. I don't care what a person thinks. I really don't, because what drives me is what drives me,
Yeah,
and end of the story. And sometimes that is looked up as arrogance, which is not really, and they don't understand. So once you, and then I don't blame them for not understanding me. So once they look at an infectious disease doctor, and when I come in, I don't go into the room and say you're obese. I try to understand them. I try to, try to talk to them and subtly try to ask them what they need, and then try to educate. Sometimes the staff that is around gets confused. Why is he asking all those? He came here for that pseudomonas in the foot. He damn look at it and don't even do wound care. Just look at the bug and drug and give the bug and put a pick line and walk away and just do that. I said, what am I getting at it? I can become rich by giving IV antibiotics to the whole world. but
Yeah.
I'm not serving anybody. And I'm not, if I don't empower that person to lose a little bit of weight and then try to understand where that person is and how I can empower. So in this process, sometimes, I overreach. I do not blame anybody for saying that or misunderstanding, thinking that I'm trying to do more, you know. But then how can I help somebody when I can't do more? And but then the systems, the health systems kind of think, okay, you are hired for this, just be in your silo. So that is where the problem happens. And then the silo minded thinking is what I want to break. And and doing that kind of was a problem till January 2020. Now I think I think things have changed so dramatically that everybody really thinks that we were ahead of time. I mean, like, we were ahead of time in 2009 when I was doing fecal bacteriotherapy. Everybody kind of called that cuckoo medicine at that time, and they were even in 2008 and 9 we were doing the UV light in the room. The UV light that is everywhere right now.
Yeah.
We were doing that in Lima, Ohio, and everybody, including the administrations, did not want to buy into that. And we were 10 years ahead of the time. And microbiome, which is being taught now, I have done 106 fecal bacteriotherapies, my style. I have a YouTube on it, how to do it. And, and then people used to come to me, our practice, I should say, from Cleveland Clinic, from OSU. And then, of course, then the FDA ruling came in. Then I wrote to FDA, and then we ended up doing still the same process. And then I have helped literally a lot of people, and I have documented cases of 106 of them that I've really done with my protocol. And one day I should sit down and write, but it takes time and effort and a lot of understanding. So that said, your question again was, where are we going to go in 5 years from now?
Yep.
So,
My
so
Yeah, and thank you for actually bringing up things that I've read about you, but I wasn't able to bring it up about the therapies through unconventional means at that time, or you because you were ahead of time. And I think of people like you as uh, artists who are within medicine. There are artists, those who create their own art, but
mhm,
people are not expecting that art from that type of physician. Your
yeah,
delivery of art of that medicine, the picture that you create, people
yeah,
want you to create a broken piece of pottery that is in front of us and use your work only on that broken part, and you're trying to put together that pottery back into place,
yeah.
and people are not accepting that. So thank you
We need to
for
learn
mentioning that. Yeah.
we need to learn the science of medicine, but practice the art of medicine.
Yep.
And I call that getting away from mass medicine mindset, the M3 medicine, and getting on to N of 1 medicine. And that's where this whole concept that I have, I'm trying to push this idea.
Yeah.
And
So tell us a little bit about this idea of yours.
so, so basically, that is one thing. There's one thing that I remember in my social preventive medicine from my med school, and the rest I think I forgot. I don't know what I learned.
Right.
Only if you see behind me, um, the top one, there is two triangles there. You see,
Yeah,
and
yeah, I see
and
disease
the top
triangles.
one, the top triangle and the bottom triangle, and the top triangle was genetics, lifestyle, and environment.
Hmm.
Okay, and that was the triangle that we were taught in medicine. So you're born with certain genetics, you have a lifestyle that you do, and you have an environment. And once those three fall in a bad spot, say you're living a bad lifestyle and an environment, and then you're born with your genetics and you cannot change it, and then you get a disease. But that has been the paradigm that I was living in until 2015, when I understood that it is not about just that, it is about how your epigenetic factors make that. So now what is epigenetics? is that's what I learned in obesity medicine, that there is genes, but then those genetic behavior expression is determined by your epigenetic factors. Now, these epigenetic factors are influenced by the food that we eat. So the food that we eat change the lipidology, and the lipidology that you see, okay,
Yeah,
yes, I
yeah,
should say,
yeah. On
and
this
then
side, yeah.
and the immune system here. So once your lipid system changes and the immune system changes, and also the other base of the triangle which you see here,
Microbiology and
uh,
microbiome.
microbiome and infectious microbes, and they in fact interact with that uh, genetic system, the chromosome, and that's where I want to propose this triangle concept of disease triangles, where when any disease process happen, it does not happen because the bug comes and falls on the a person. You know what I mean? Or somebody
Yeah.
sneezes on somebody. Yes, there are some things called as viral factors, there are bacterial factors, there are virulence factors that can predispose somebody, luck of the draw. But then the health system is there to catch hold of that major problem. But healthcare delivery processes have to be honed to remove these multifactorial issues that involve behavioral needs that need to be addressed. So that was my dream when I was investing in Fruit Street. That was my dream to make an impact using Fruit Street. And I really think that there's a huge silos that need to be broken down, and we need to connect a lot of health systems in US. Forget about outside the world. I mean, like, there is a lot to be done outside the world. But then if I'm able to execute it here, then I will be easily able to transport it out there. See, I mean, like, I'm having an impact on 3,000 doctors in India as I'm sitting in US right now. In fact, tomorrow morning at 7:30, I have a CME lecture on biofilms in wound healing.
Interesting.
So I'm just sitting here, and I've been doing this from 2008 and 9, and now we are in 2020, and I've been pushing this agenda since then. And I put
So
my money where my mouth is, and I'm trying to make it happen. But then the system, I mean, like, we just keep doing, and the system will come around. And
yeah.
if I fail, if I fall, if I lose every penny I put in there, I don't mind. The reason for that is it has helped me change myself. So
This concept of yours, when did you develop this thought process into
in
in this form?
2015, into
2015.
this form in 2015. But prior to that, I was thinking about what is bugs and what am I doing with myself in 2011 and 12. Then that's when I came up with that logo that is beside that. And it logo for my office, it's like, it says Regional Infectious Disease, but on the bottom it says removing barriers to healing. And the website nobadbugs.com. So I was thinking, I'm treating bugs, and I'm a bug doctor. Am I a bug doctor, or am I a human doctor? So I just decided to come up with a name saying no bad bugs. So
Your ambition is infectious, because I can feel myself like wanted to do something just hearing about you. As a rheumatologist from the background and as an integrative
oh,
physician, I can completely understand where how you're putting this together, because as an infectious disease doctor, your impacts, it goes on to many diseases. Look at COPD, look
yeah.
at even rheumatology, and now they go back to microbiome in the gut causing the
Hmm.
rheumatic diseases,
Yeah.
and the triggering of immunology that you mentioned there very thoughtfully, and I'm really impressed by that model that you created. And I think if you look at it, most of the human diseases we can connect to that
Hmm.
diagram that you have. Now,
Yeah.
my question is, how is that uh, that effort that you're trying to create the sustainable health delivery system in India? What
Hmm.
phase is it is in, and what's happening there? Could you share that with us a little bit?
Oh yeah. So basically, I'm coming to it from two angles.
Okay.
Number one, a sick care system. Number two, a well care system.
Okay.
So then I'm going to blend those both. So the sick care system is where I'm going to address it with my wound care aspect, and I'm building an app for it. And basically, I throw money at it. And like I just, you look at me and I just, okay, where is money? I'm like, I just pull it from here, pull it from there, go on, and just throw it at it, and if I get
Build
it, make it
something.
fine.
Yeah.
And then the other aspect of well care is where when I invested in Fruit Street, I had one rule and request from the investment. I just need the rights for India for Fruit Street, which I got. And basically, my plan is to create a wellness model and integrate it with a sick care model and use telemedicine technology. And I have a team of doctors. In fact, um, I teach. I have this wound care on that we do like a webinars we do, and apart from that, I'm in constant communication with a number of doctors. But the problem is that data is not kind of gotten into one place. So the app that we are creating will bring the data together, and then also then I'm going to empower them with nutrition. So as I'm sitting here, I every day communicate with almost 3,000 doctors. So actively, I think 600 doctors communicate, and 200 of them have a separate group that I teach what I call therapeutic carbohydrate restriction.
Interesting. So
Yeah,
that's a very nutrition focused module of
totally,
your
totally,
education.
totally.
And
Yeah, these people are like, what we are learning is not right. And so basically, I use therapeutic carbohydrate restriction or low carb, high fat nutritional lifestyle. Um, and as you as a rheumatologist possibly know, that there is a huge thing about inflammation,
yeah,
and in a state of nutritional ketosis, our genetic expression is the best. So the epigenetics that I hear behind my head there, the epigenetic factors are best expressed in a state of what is called as nutritional ketosis. And also, did you know that there is something called as NLRP inflammasome? Okay, this
hmm
NLRP inflammasome is inhibited by beta hydroxybutyrate,
hmm.
and beta hydroxybutyrate is produced by our gut bacteria.
Interesting.
And there is no, literally there is no a drug that can really mimic that, except I think SGLT2 inhibitors recently are, I think, doing that, and that's why they are kind of using that, trying to say they are losing glucose in the urine, but in reality, the positive effect of SGLT2 inhibitors is increased ketone production.
Interesting. So that's another way of looking at that medication.
So it's the
Uh,
real way of looking at that medication, to tell you the truth. They and these companies don't tell you that.
hmm.
And that is a pseudo nutritional ketosis. See, the idea is, why do you have to pee out your glucose and eat the carbs at the same time?
Yeah.
No reason.
I mean, uh, now, are you seeing success? Are you seeing roadblocks in India for your education?
Oh, no,
And
no. I mean, like, obviously, cost is an issue, you see?
yeah,
Cost is an issue everywhere. So, as I was doing this whole thing, I sat back and tried to figure out how can I overcome it.
hmm.
So, I have come across some blockchain companies. So, I've invested in 2 blockchain companies. I don't know a freaking thing about blockchain. And I invested in 2 blockchain companies. And that made me see, when you throw money, you try to learn stuff, you see.
Yeah, yeah,
So I I've befriended 2 CEOs of the companies, and I've learned a little bit. Not that I know everything about it. I just know that it's a secure communication technology that is very extensively protected. That's one thing. And the other way is my thinking. See, when you can't do anything, see, what can you do in life? Can you change anybody? I mean, like you can try to change somebody, but at the end of the day, you cannot change a person next to you. You can
Yep.
only just beg of them. You can only request of them. You can only tell them, please, please, please don't behave like that. Please don't eat that. Please don't do that. But then after some time, they will kind of avoid you and they will stop speaking with you. And or they will just say, okay, I'm getting out of your practice. You're bugging me. So, but then what I've decided is I'm not going to bug anybody. I'm just going to bug myself. I change myself. So, like Mahatma Gandhi said, you can only be the change that you want to see in the society. So, I just decided to change myself and started doing something called as cost apart thinking.
What's
So,
that?
so what when I was coming up with this whole concept, I went through this whole process of dissociation from healthcare, what I'm doing with this whole process. And so if you take cost out of healthcare, the major problem with any services, suppose if you're delivering a solution for telemedicine, I mean, like then the telemedicine company has to go and come up with a package that is going to make them sellable. Everybody wants a module where you can sell a solution for an entity and make money, but that is a problem everywhere. Say US, say in India. If I take that out and think I have good Lord's blessing on me, and just say he comes to me and tells me, Ravi, I take care of it. Just put it aside, then do your thing. So I said, the cost is not my problem. It's my God's problem. It's not
Yeah.
my problem at all. So then I have to then go about try to figure out what is the problem that I have to solve. Now, cost is not anymore not my issue. So then I said, okay, communication is a major thing. So I've come up with 5 criteria. I call this cost apart thinking. So the number one, communication. Okay, communication between the patient and the doctor,
Yeah.
a doctor and a nurse, doctor and a healthcare system, and a doctor to a doctor. So everything involving communication, like communication with a transportation team that brings the patient from outside to the hospital. Like, how is that? What is that is a barrier?
Yeah.
And number one. Number two, once we figured out communication, the real issue is personalization. So if I'm not able to personalize a solution for the patient, I'm not a doctor. I can have the knowledge. Knowledge does not mean anything. Knowledge is not power. It's illusion of power, you see? Knowledge is illusion of power. So I said, okay, I have to personalize it. Now, I've told a person, okay, this is a problem. But then if the guy does not do implementation, that is the third thing. I have to help him with implementation. If I do that implementation, okay, if he finally does it, then I have to like an implementation, communication, personalization, implementation, and reevaluation. So like tracking, you have to do tracking and then do reevaluation. So these are the 5 things that I'm trying to like think. I mean that is when I invested in Fruit Street. That is when I kind of give a lot and keep pushing, keep nudging the system. And in fact, say right now, I've been asking for say continuous glucose monitoring to be integrated into our telemedicine platform since you know like
Yeah.
3
When the
years.
technology came out, the
Yeah,
remote patient
eh,
monitoring technology. Yep.
yeah. And the idea is now, if you see for COVID and problems with COVID and comorbidities, there is something called as the in the range, glucose in the range.
Yep.
So if somebody has a continuous glucose monitor and they have a glucose in range, then we are able to their outcomes are not bad because then you have a system of telemedicine, you have a system of a food tracking tool, you have a whole system built in where you kind of prevent the patient from getting admitted to the hospital and be able to take care of it outpatient. So I mean there is a lot of things. I mean like I have a lot of other ideas that I have, including using hyperbaric therapy for COVID. In fact, there is studies for that, and there is case series that is being developed for that. I do hyperbaric therapy for, by the way. So the idea is, we can use technology, and instead of waiting for the patient to get sick, we have a chain of hyperbaric centers across the country. We build this solution and uh, put a patient on a pulse ox machine, and then if the patient is worsening, then get it to that center that is nearer to the patient and dive the patient. It's see, then it just comes down to the cost. You see, things happen till now. All the state barriers were there. That was broken down because of COVID. Telemedicine barriers were there. That was broken down because of COVID. And magic happens. Magic happens. And I mean, like, I don't say but the problem is, in 5 years from now, if we are in the same boat of trying to figure out, get a vaccine for COVID-19, what if COVID-20 comes? I mean,
Yep.
like, that's an issue. So we cannot chase these viruses. Yes, things happen. The idea is we have to use this concept of disease triangles, try to improve the like immunometabolism and lipid metabolism. That what works for me might not work for you. And the dose makes the poison. So the issue is, the drug bug solution is amazing, as it is amazing. But as we are developing that drug bug solution, we need to work on the person who is suffering and empowering that person. So that's where the real value is.
Ravi, after listening to you, I think one gift you have, one talent you have, you're an amazing problem solver. If you look at it, challenges that you have addressed and how you break down those challenges, they're no matter if they are in the field of endocrinology or they are in the field of infectious disease, public health, technology, you have a gift of problem solving. And I think that's what unique is about you, is that if you are put into any field or any problem and they tell you, Ravi, we need a problem, a solution to this problem, you'll come up with that. And I think that's what drives you, because you have picked up so many challenges in your life, but since it comes natural to you to solve a problem, go to its bottom and then break it down, that's
Yeah.
what your talent is. So my question is, you are also looking at population health. uh, m- Let me tell you a little bit of personal story that comes close to what you're trying to do. A friend of mine is a neurosurgeon practicing in Missouri right now, who's my
Mhm.
class fellow. And we were
Mhm.
very close friends. And last year, 2 years ago, he went to visit his mom, who was in Pakistan, Islamabad, and got admitted and actually developed a pneumonia. Actually, I think she broke her hip, got into a hospital, and got a nosocomial infection and could not get out of the hospital. He went there and tried to convince an infectious disease doctor to kind of think outside the box and maybe do something. Eventually, he lost his mom and he was desperate, heartbroken, and he came back. Now, this is the problems of third world country, that it is difficult for doctors to actually even understand another doctor's perspective. How do you overcome that barrier of public health and maybe not coming across other doctors as a foreign doctor who's trying to tell what he has learned to doctors in India? How you've been able to collect 3,000 doctors to listen to you?
I mean, like, don't give up.
Yeah,
I mean, like, so that friend of yours, what branch is he in? What branch is he in? What does?
neurosurgery.
Wow.
He's a
So,
neurosurgeon in Missouri. Yeah,
so the idea is then try to start a program. Try to. I mean, like, I would love to help him. I mean, like,
yeah,
in fact, I have many friends from Pakistan. I
yeah.
mean, like, in my last place when I was in Evansville, I have a lot of friends in Indiana, and a lot of friends who I wantedly gave my number to them because I want to build this solution for Asia and Southeast Asia. That see, at the end of the day, if and on my last day, I want to create this thing wherein I say, okay, look back and say, okay, I did this. And the idea is, what so it just comes down to that neurosurgeon thinking about what he could do to solve that problem. Not a neurosurgical problem, you see.
No.
It's a problem of communication.
Yeah.
So then he needs to create a solution so that he can empower that doctor, say, build something, think out of the box. I mean, like, that's what I did, you see. Telemedicine, uh, being, maybe create a CME tool for those doctors, like create a, maybe initially what we did for, say, our med school back in Guntur was we sponsored, my classmates and me sponsored like a first year who passed in biochemistry. We give them X amount of rupees from here. So it's like we have a endowment for that,
Stipend. Yeah.
a stipend
Endowment.
for
Yeah.
that. So the idea is, um, you know, knowledge. I mean, like, so I talk like this, but the problem that I'm talking about was there before me.
Yeah.
So the idea is, we have to learn from our mistakes,
Yeah.
and that open-mindedness, and is it's sometimes lacking. When somebody from out of India, or out of the thing, or a doctor from there is being directed from here, there is a sensation or thought process that you're going somewhere. I mean, to tell you the truth, they know the local scenario, you see. They
Yeah.
know the local scenario
Yeah.
better. But the problem is the communication, the
And
cultural
collaboration.
issues,
Yeah.
the cultural collaboration problem is not. I mean, that is there in this country too. I mean,
Yeah.
like, if any of my patients want a second opinion, I would gladly do it. And the problem is, sometimes the godly nature sometimes kicks in.
Yeah.
We are mere mortals. I don't know
Mortals. Yeah.
everything about infectious disease.
No.
I will plead the fifth. I mean, like every opinion that I have said here, I beg to differ with myself. I
Yeah.
can go back and change it. The
Sure.
issue is that, you know, today I am having this opinion. I did not have this opinion yesterday. Maybe tomorrow my opinion will change. The issue
We.
comes down to how even in healthcare, it's not about being afraid to do something. That is a huge problem that I saw. I mean, like, you have a guideline. So these guidelines are established as kind of a guide to the doctors. But then guidelines are guideposts. You cannot and you cannot kind of imply that that is the only thing that you have to follow. And what has happened with medicine, unfortunately, is guidelines have become gospel.
Yeah.
And that is a problem. And then where I have jumped that gospel kind of multiple times. And then I've done like wound healing. I mean, like, if you see my case series of wound healing on YouTube, you will be amazed, like, how did this even guy do it? Stage 4 pressure ulcers. I just close it. I mean, like, I did not even have a plastic surgical guy. I mean, I called them for a consult, and I had a good working relationship. That's where it just comes down to. You just then bring them on board, have the family given an opinion, and have your friendly plastic surgeon come in, or any other person, and then they say, okay, you tell the family, this is what is the standard, this is what is involved in the flap, or, hey, since you're here, since I am that involved, since I understand this, there's a little bit of risk, but I'm going to follow. So anything that we do in medicine has a lot to do with tracking. And that is where I think things fall between the cracks.
I
So
agree. Yeah.
that my friend, like, say, I was doing infusion therapy in my office, you see,
Mhm.
and you have a patient in the hospital, and the hospital discharges the patient, and patient goes somewhere for infusion. Now the hospital does not know what the hell happened, and the patient is lost for follow-up. Then after 4 weeks, the PICC line is still there. The patient has gotten only drugs for 2 weeks and did not follow up because the hospital did not schedule. So there is a crack.
There's a crack.
Or
Yeah.
then it so happened that my office has to follow call. And then my office was doing a lot of work that hospital should have done. So the question is, whenever you try to build this thing, then hospital gets pissed
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
said, the idea is, I'm not trying to blame the hospital. In fact, I was a wicket keeper in my cricket days. Wicket keeping, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I know. Keeper. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Wicket keeping is when you are behind the
yeah.
sticks on the thing. And I was a wicket keeper, and I prided myself in being a wicket keeper. And every time I caught a miss, I mean, I felt like I was back in my cricket career, catching that catch that was missed. I mean,
Yeah.
like that made me happy. So that was my.
What a great analogy and metaphor that you did. And to close our professional session, I'm taking a lot of pearls of wisdom from you, Ravi. It's hard to say, but I think that your compassion, your passion, and your relentlessness is what the message we have to give to our colleagues. And thank you for offering your wisdom and your leadership to my friends who want to do something like what you're doing. Because after losing a loved one that close for a bad bug, as all pun intended, because of how you write it, no bad bugs. He lost his mom to that bad bug. And I think that your experience and vision can help us get some sort of a system there to help there.
Mhm.
And I will introduce you both.
Yeah.
um, I will conclude our professional session. I have 15 more minutes that I want to dig into a lighter aspect of your life to get to know you, how you spend your life other than thinking about the bugs. Okay. All right. Thank you.